Welcome to the first tutorial video for introducing you to your project deliverables. This project deliverable is the first deliverable you should construct. Hopefully by now, if not, email me and I'll send you it. I've sent you this features list document. Before I talk about that, let's just quickly highlight some sub-issues that I should have gone through in our first meeting. So one of the sub-issues is, how are we going to progress through this process of mentoring you through your project? Well, I have quite a few pre-prepared information resource components. I'm going to send you these sequentially because really one of the important things that you might not have understood yet is we're not going to develop your skills to build programs by trial and error and hacking. What we're going to do is develop a skill set where you learn to think. Use the material that you've learnt over the last few years, be it software engineering or algorithmics, and understand how you should use the visualization, diagrammatic techniques, UML diagrams, most of them, to develop your skill set. And then you'll find that most of them are actually deliverables that can be placed in your thesis at the end to evidence you know the theory behind your project. So I'm just showing you the list of deliverables I'm going to slowly send you, and you can see that the one that's highlighted is the features list. So let's go back to the features list. So this is your first deliverable. Now, as you can see, there's lots of different ways to develop features lists. So your job is to write a features list once you've parsed these for your project. Now, the important thing to realize is this can be placed in your requirements chapter, not as it is now. So I'll try and explain how we're going to work. We're going to work by trying to mentor you to learn to think and not program first. And I'm going to say this again, just-in-time high-level programming is a waste of time. The only way to learn to program is to think about these words I'm going to tell you now, and that is algorithmics first. So I'll explain that during the year you're with me, and this methodology has been evolved over 15 years. And it's so good as a methodology, with some other caveats and methodologies aligned to it, that it's got a student who used it 90%. That means their final deliverable thesis was awarded 90 out of 100. Now I think you'll agree that this concept of algorithmics first, when you start understanding what it is and how to draw them up in your logbook, is the most empowering technique, process and mechanism you'll ever learn. It is aligned and directly associated with data structures and parameterization. I know I'm not talking to you with it in front of me now, I'm showing you a features list, but that is to try and get you to realize we're going to evolve through a number of processes, mechanisms, techniques to get you to learn to think. The features list that you're going to produce first is one of them. So on the side, let's just diversify a little bit to another deliverable that I hope I've sent you, and that is this Kanban. Now if you hadn't realized what a Kanban is, I can give you some information on it, so just email me and I'll send you the links to the guru of the world's best video on it, and you can get some insight into what it is, how it's changed a lot of people's lives, and how you use it to get a first. Now in this format, the one I've got in front of you, it's used to deliver components for your project. They're delineated here into chapters. So what does that mean? Well, it means the first deliverable that I've talked to you about, the features list, is a component that can actually be placed when it's finally evolved into one of your chapters, which will be the requirement chapter, and all of these subcomponents here are deliverables and components for the requirements chapter. Then let's think about the next chapter, which is the design chapter. And here's some of the diagrammatic techniques you could use there, from collaboration responsibility cards to sequence diagrams to design patterns to HTA analysis, hierarchical task analysis in HCI, human computer interaction. I can send you information on all of these. Now what you might notice here is I've also put in here for implementation chapter high-level algorithmics and prototype lists. So again, I can send you information on these. And then the next chapter down is the test chapter. And you can see I've gone through quite a few different subsections on different tests. And finally, if you really want to get a first, this chapter here is the chapter after the background. And I'll just go through the chapters now to show you what you need to do to get a first. To get a first, these are basically the chapters you're going to need to write, and I'll tell you how to do them. If we can start writing the research requirements or the research section and another chapter called requirements, the sooner the better. But let's focus on this research chapter. Why do you need it? Well, it was one of the chapters that differentiated the student who got 90 from all the other students this year and in his cohort. Why was that? Well, prior to this, the majority of the 250 students who undertake projects in our school normally produce these chapters, and that's normally, and I'll just list them now. First, after the front page is the abstract, then the introduction, then the background, then the requirements, then the design, then the implementation, test, and conclusion. Now, to get 90, you need to realize that each of those should have had a subsection, and you could break it down into two components, each one of those major chapters, and they are the research involved in that field, requirements, design, implementation, and test, and the application of that research. So how has a separate chapter on research differentiated this student? Well, one, it's made research a main topic chapter and said the project itself is delineated and fundamentally undertaken with research in mind, hence the chapter called research. Then we move on to building research relevance tables, which I hope I've been through you with. If not, email me and I'll go through them, and it's actually on YouTube, and showing you methods for logging research and show you how to develop research relevance trees. And then finally, I'm not sure if I've done this yet, if not, when we're developing chapters, when we're developing your two presentations, we need to go through the theory of the theory research relevance tree. Right, I'm going to stop now and say thank you very much for listening. If I haven't sent you this Excel spreadsheet on Kanbans, do tell me and I'll send it to you. What this video was all about was introducing you to your first deliverable. After this, we'll start moving on. Remember, you should write this in your logbook. It's up to you if you type it up and send it to me. I'd rather you just actually take a picture of your logbook page and send me that picture. And then we move on to the next deliverable, and then we start thinking about the next systematic step after this. So I'll stop now and say thank you very much. Hopefully you should be able to undertake this within a week, and then we'll move on to the next step in the process. Thank you for listening to the video.